Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL. NFL draft prospects and rookies. Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man JRich. Count that money, man. Now wipe the crust out of your eyes. Get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense, and you sound silly as hell. GMGP. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. It is Monday, October the 2nd, 2023. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G, and for that, your boy appreciate you being in the damn building. It feels like it's been a minute. No show on Friday, no show on Sunday. I'm back in the studio. I'm in the building. I'm excited. JRich, baby, let's get it today. I need some air horns. Woo! Dustin in the building. Jimbo, Sean, what's happening with you? Who else we got? Marlon in the building. Fizzle on the intro. Fizzle out here making intros for the whole fantasy community out there with South Harmon. Shout out to you, Fizzle. Taylor Wolf, David from across the pond, Hunter in the building. Ty, Graphic 13, my girl Gretchen in the building. Shane, Joe, Garrison, Greg Oswald. We got a dope show on tap. Cut the music, Jay. Cut the music, cut the music, cut the music, cut the music. Got a dope show on tap for y'all today. We got a lot to get into, so I'm going to bring JRich in right now. We started a couple of minutes late because of JRich. Jay, how you doing, baby? How you doing? It's all your fault. When we start late, it's your fault. When we're on time, it's all me.
It's definitely my fault, but I was laughing pretty hard behind the scenes. It sounded like you almost strained your voice saying, good morning, good people. You like sped through it, and you were like, good morning, good people. And I was like, whoa,
quick, man.
He is excited for this one. But, Ray, big show. We didn't even get to talk Lions. We get to talk Jordan Love, who we talk every week because we got to talk Jordan Love. But you had a new idea to intro this show, so how about we get started with that? Because you seem to be pretty excited about it. You are, in fact, the king of college, I think that's a self-proclaimed nickname at that, but it is rookie season, right? It is rookie season after all, and you wanted to kick this thing off with a super flex rookie mock draft. Who has the first pick, right? Do I have the first pick?
Yeah, let's pull up the board. Yeah, we're gonna do this now. We're not even gonna waste time. We're a quarter of the way through the fantasy season. There's a lot of stuff going on with the rookies, Jay. You know, I run the rookie report every week, but that's more from, just checking in on the guys. Let's go ahead and put fire to ass this morning. Let's put some pressure on you, on me, on the people in the chat. So we're going to remock the first round of the 2023 rookie draft based on everything that we've seen, everything that we know, information that we have now. So there is no, I think Addison's going to face one-on-one coverage and be fed 1 million targets, and I think JSN's going to... No, what we know today, right now, how would you draft these players? Think about this being your most important league, big money league. Like, none of that projecting. Use the information that we have. So we're going to do it right now. Let's pull the board up, Jay. Let's pull the board up. I got it already set up, sort of, kind of. I haven't done this in a little bit, Jay. So if there are technical difficulties, you know how we go. But, Jay, you got the first pick. We're rapid firing this. If we had to redo the 2023 Superflex rookie draft today, where are you going with 101? Give it to me.
100% Anthony Richardson. He's as advertised, and not only is he as advertised, but Shane Steichen is also as advertised, a player and coach that we went to bat for all off season. We've seen it through 3 weeks. Ray, he is quarterback 2 right now on a points per game basis, only behind Justin Herbert and ahead of Josh Allen.
It's interesting, man. It's interesting. It's the value of the quarterback position in Superflex, man. That's really what it boils down to, Jay. So for me, right here at the 102 spot, pretty easy selection for me. I think he's been the best rookie overall this season, the best rookie quarterback, best rookie overall. And in a Superflex format, I would 100% be selecting CJ Stroud at the 102. Jay, you're up at 103, and I'm going to assume we're going to forego the quarterback position here, and I'm going to just take a wild guess that you're going to go with running back out of Atlanta.
Yeah, I will be taking Bijan Robinson here, and I think, Ray, the people are probably wondering how could we take Stroud over Robinson, and I think the biggest...
I hope they're not wondering
the biggest thing, right? The difference between taking a quarterback before the season and now is we don't know how that quarterback's going to play out. And I think we can confidently say that CJ Stroud is the goods. And so I'm definitely with you. I agree. We should be taking Stroud over Bijan at this point. But who do you got at 104?
I think this is where it gets interesting, Jay.
It's gross. This is where
it gets interesting. This is where it gets gross. And if I had to do this right now, today, based on everything that we know, oh man, this is a tough spot to be in, it feels like, man. But for me, I am going to select, and I got to type his name, man. I'm taking Puka Nacua, wide receiver from the Rams, 39 receptions, over 500 yards. I believe he's leads the league or second in the league in yards. I know everybody's worried about Cooper. Yeah, I know everyone's worried about Cooper Kupp coming back and rendering him irrelevant. I highly doubt that's going to happen. I think both of these guys can thrive in that offense. We've seen Robert Woods and both Cooper Kupp thrive in a Sean McVay offense. But if we had to do this today, he would be my wide receiver 1 based on what we know. Call it overreaction, call it what you want, but Puka Nacua, 104 for me. Where you at, Jay? 105.
This one's difficult because everyone's waiting for me to take Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Everyone's saying, oh, it should be Jahmyr Gibbs. But, Ray, I honestly think the answer is Zay Flowers. Like, I legitimately do. I think if you're looking at the receivers right now, it would be between Addison and Flowers. But what we've seen from Flowers and the dominance he's had in this Baltimore offense, I feel pretty confident about taking him, not just for this season, but also beyond. And I am concerned about this Gibbs role, right? And I do believe that the value of the wide receiver position mixed in with the fact that Flowers is already operating as the one on Baltimore, even though it's a low volume offense, he's been great so far. I think he'll only continue to get better. For me, it has to be Flowers here.
Jay, we're going to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs here in a little bit in the overreaction section. But again, right here, man, it feels like you have to go quarterback. I know things are very blurry and very nasty looking with Bryce Young right now. But at 106, based on everything that I know, there's a freaking top 10 running back just chilling out there, a player that we loved going into the process. We said that this player would push everybody's process to the test because of his size. We love the offense. He is the RB1 for the Miami Dolphins. I'm taking Devon Achane at 106 after Zay Flowers. You're up 107, Jay.
Oh, man, Ray, you're giving me the same choice again. I'm going to take Addison here. Still believe in the talent. Still love the situation. Even though he had a down week, he's still been great so far through 4 weeks. I'll be taking Addison here pretty easily. Love the long-term outlook for Jordan Addison. All
right, I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs, 108. My prayer is in 2 years when they trade him, he'll turn into DeAndre Swift.
3 years.
I mean, 3 years. Okay, I gotta wait 3 years and they'll turn.
You gotta wait 3 years.
I'm not panicked on Gibbs, but right now I would rather Achane. I would take Gibbs over Jordan Addison. I'm not letting him fall to 108, but I'll gladly take him there at 108. You're up 109. Where you at?
Oof, man. JSN,
Come on, man.
QJ. I'll take Bryce. I don't want to take Bryce, though.
There you go.
I don't want to take Bryce, but I think there's enough of a tier gap here that I can take Bryce and be okay. But it's just the outlook for Bryce is so bad. So bad.
All right. 110, Jay. Can't let him fall any further. And this isn't like tight end premium. So we're just talking PPR. So even in a PPR, I'm not taking a tight end. Like, it's just not happening. Not in round 1 of a rookie draft. I'm taking JSN right there. Things haven't looked good. People like him. The community likes him. If and when he gets some opportunity and does something, everybody will be back in, Jay. Where you at? 111? Go ahead and finish us out.
I'm going
with your
against
final
what
pick.
you said. I'm taking Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta's been phenomenal so far to start this season. I understand what you're saying with the tight end position, but he is a difference maker, right? He's a player who's getting a ton of targets. He has 22 receptions on the year, which I think is leading all tight ends in the NFL, or only behind Evan Ingram and TJ Hawkinson. Happy to take Laporta here. I think he's going to be a great tight end for years to come, and especially with the guys behind him, I think you can confidently take Laporta and be happy about it.
Good Lord, Jay. I really, at 112,
Aiden O'Connell is available.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Tank Dell, Quentin Johnston, Charbonnet, Mayer. I'll just take, oh, man. I'll just take QJ just because I really don't know. Well, he's the first.
3 targets this week, Ray. 3 targets.
I can't do it, man. Like, I'm not taking. I don't know, man.
Kendre still available.
I'm not touching Tank Dell. I'll put Tank Dell there. I I don't feel good about that either. But the point is, look how different the first round has changed after a quarter of the fantasy season. So we've got JRich at 101, CJ Stroud 102, Bijan Robinson 103. Jay, real quick, realistically, man, I tweeted this out yesterday. I was like, JRich 101. JRich 101. People, no, it's still Bijan. Like, what do you think? What's the reason why people continue to hold on to the running back at the top spot? Given everything that we've seen, how the NFL is treating running backs, how the Atlanta Falcons want to use running backs, that team in general, why are people still holding on to a running back at 101 in super flex formats? Let me finish this out real quick. Puka Nacua 104, Zay Flowers, Devon A. Chan, Jordan Addison, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bryce Young, JSN all the way down to 110. Sam Laporta and Tank Dell round out the first round. Go ahead, Jay. What are your thoughts on the Bijan thing?
I think it's just the value of the running back position historically in fantasy football, not necessarily how value should be trending in 2023 in Superflex leagues. But, I mean, to their point, Bijan's still leading the NFL in receptions at the running back position, so that's obviously huge PPR leagues. But, yeah, I mean, in this Atlanta offense, the way it's operating right now, it's not looking great, but he's still like RB8, RB9 right now in points per game, so he's playing well, and then the touchdown upside isn't quite there simply because the offense isn't good enough. But I think we all know that Bijan can be a great running back in the NFL for years to come, and maybe he can be a Christian McCaffrey type that just is in the league for a long time and catching a ton of passes, at which point then obviously the value would be well worth it. But I think to your point, JRich is probably going to be a pretty damn good quarterback for the next 5-10 years as well, right? And Bijan's probably not going to outlast that quarterback position.
Yeah, man, it's tough, but that's the whole thing. It was never an argument against Bijan Robinson. It's an argument for the format of Superflex and how valuable these quarterbacks are. And then when you look around the NFL, Jay, and you think about all the quarterbacks that are stinking it up right now, if you have a guy that you can depend on week in and week out, and you're not praying over Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Bryce Young, just somebody that you can throw in your lineup every week, it's invaluable to have that on your roster. All right, Jay, we have to get on to one of my favorite sections, Jay.
What is
Overreaction. Is it an overreaction or is this an appropriate reaction? So we're changing the name up. Overreaction or the right reaction. So I'm going to read a statement. You and the people in the chat are going to let me know. And shout out to Hunter Joe Green real quick. Hunter Joe Green said this. He said, it's still Bijan in air quotes. It was never Bijan. QBs are more valuable than running backs in Superflex leagues. You would think so, right? You would think, but a majority of the people still are, I'm taking the running back. I don't care. So I'm with you, Hunter. We're with you. The audience is with you about 95%. Jay, I'm going to read this statement. You let me know if this is an overreaction or if this is the right reaction. Jahmyr Gibbs is a 2023 rookie draft bust. Jahmyr Gibbs is a bust pick from the 2023 rookie draft. Is that an overreaction or is that the right reaction, JRich?
I think that's the right reaction. It's been 4 weeks and he hasn't been good enough. Does that mean he can't turn it around? Absolutely not. But as of right now, yes, Jahmyr Gibbs is absolutely 100% a bust. He can turn it around. But as of right now, he is definitely a bust. And I don't think it's his fault either because they have been using Dave Montgomery a lot. But for the 12th overall pick in the NFL draft, a guy we were drafting 104 overall in rookie drafts, I mean, Ray, this is the guy that people advocated taking over CJ Stroud. And look at what CJ Stroud is doing. So it definitely is a bit of a problem for us right now in fantasy world. Who took Jahmyr Gibbs?
I think a lot of people are going to hear you say overreaction and overreact to that. But the key part of what you said is relative to what we thought we would get out of him. And it's not his fault. Like, I don't believe this is a product of Jahmyr Gibbs not being good. We all watch him. There's no doubt he's explosive, but there's also, what do I always preach? Pay attention to what the teams are telling you. And what have the Detroit Lions told us? I mean, it's clear as day. David Montgomery is our lead guy. He's going to be the primary ball carrier, and we like him. So is he a bust from the sense of this guy's bad? I don't think he has any future, no chance to recoup value, to produce. Absolutely not. We will not say that, but relative to where you drafted him, some people even drafted him. Hell, there's some underdog teams where he's my RB1, JRich. So relative to the cost that we paid and the expectations that we had for Jahmyr Gibbs, it's probably the right reaction, but I don't think either of us are saying sell Gibbs. He's a bust. He's sorry. Can't play. You don't have the same sentiment with him that you do with like Quentin Johnston right now.
I think the big thing about Gibbs is he is exactly who we thought he would be before the draft capital, right? Then he got this draft capital and expectations changed, and all of a sudden people thought he was going to be this big thing like Bijan is right now. And I think that's the big takeaway for me, is that he's kind of who we thought he would be prior to the draft.
All right. Another one, Jay. Let me know. And man, I think we can do, I wanted to do some damn polls in the YouTube chat. Like, I'm all about polls now. I wanted to do some polls, but don't worry, we'll do it next time, Jay. We don't have time to do that shit right now. Here's the next statement. Sam Laporta is the dynasty tight end one right now. Is that an overreaction or is that the right reaction? Sam Laporta is the dynasty tight end one.
Still an overreaction for me. There's still TJ Hawkinson. There's still Mark Andrews. Both those guys deserve to be ahead of Sam Laporta. Laporta's been great, as I mentioned, and why I took him in the first round of the rookie mock, but he still has a long way to go until he's going to be the dynasty tight end one, but been phenomenal so far for a rookie tight end, but definitely still needs a little bit more production to really get all the way up to the tight end one.
So if you were doing a startup right now, you would take Andrews or Hawkinson. You said Hawkinson. You take them before Sam Laporta. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And Kelsey probably as well, right?
So the is an overreaction, but he's top 5. Yeah. Tater,
top 5.
That's why I said the. That's why I went back. And even in the show sheet, the tight end one in Dynasty. All right. Jay, got another one. Justin Fields is back. Justin Fields is back. Is that an overreaction by me, or is that the right reaction? Justin Fields is back.
I don't know if you want to dive into Fields now. I'm going to say
dive into the question.
No.
Answer the. Is
I'm
it an
going to say
overreaction?
no.
Or...
It is not an overreaction.
Oh, so now you're in on. Okay, now you're in on Justin Fields.
Oh,
gaslight
you want to talk about Fields? Go back, rewind the tape. Last Monday, you asked me, "Am I out on Fields?" And I said no. Give him one more week. And what happened? He was a top 5 quarterback this week. So
who didn't have it? Who didn't think? He would be a top 5 quarterback versus Denver. Who didn't think that?
But when the Justin Fields hater comes out and says, hold on, people, let's see what he does against Denver, then he played well. He did what he had to do. I don't know if he's back, but in terms of the question, I'm going to say yes.
All right. Jalen Waddle is a dynasty sell. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver from the Miami Dolphins, ranked as a top 10 dynasty wide receiver. He is a sell, JRich. You're selling Jalen Waddle in dynasty. You need to be doing it now, right now. Is that an overreaction or is that the right reaction?
I think it's a bit of an overreaction. I still like Jalen Waddle a lot long term. I think it was just a rough game against the Bills. Okay. I think it's just the dynasty market, right? When you have back-to-back weeks that are bad, or in the case of Waddle, he missed a week and then didn't have a great week this week, you are already a sell candidate, right, at that point. I don't think I'd be selling him quite yet, but definitely his value is quite high given his production so far this season.
All right, Jay. Next one, and then I'm gonna look at the chat. I don't even want to look at what the chat is saying right now. T. Higgins is a dynasty sell right now. You need to be selling your T. Higgins shares to the highest bidder right now. Overreaction or the right reaction?
I think it's still an overreaction, but I am more on the T. Higgins sell side than the Jalen Waddle sell side, because Higgins, for whatever reason, cannot stay healthy. And so if there's a point in the season where he has his 2-touchdown game again and we can sell him, I definitely would be looking to, I think, at that point.
All right, let me see what Ben a sell. Gavin said Ben a sell. Waddle is a buy. Waddle is a buy. Somebody said, Tater said he's buying from whoever's selling. I'm buying T, sell Higgins on the next big blow up. All right. All right, Jay. Finally, the final overreaction or the right reaction. The Panthers draft day trade. Well, it wasn't a draft day trade, but draft trade to acquire Bryce Young was worse than the 49ers trade to move up and get Trey Lance. Overreaction based at the moment, or is that the right reaction with the pick? And let me put some context to this. I've been listening to multiple people throughout the draft process, and I listened to Joe Marino talk about Bryce Young with Brett Whitfield on the Fantasy Points pod last week. And all they said is if you're going to blow that type of capital to draft a quarterback, you do not draft one with the physical limitations of a player like Bryce Young. You just don't do it. You either swing for the fences for an Anthony Richardson, or you go with a safer, more prototypical NFL passer and a CJ Stroud. So, again, Bryce Young, the Panthers trading up to get Bryce Young, is going to go down as a worse move than the 49ers trading up to get Trey Lance?
I honestly think it could be very, very quickly, right? Because as you said, Ray, you don't trade up to swing for the fences. Right now, who has the second overall pick in the NFL draft? That would be the Carolina Panthers. So the Bears have the top 2 picks in the draft right now. So when you know that Caleb Williams is on the horizon and you don't swing for the fences, right? It seems like a terrible trade. And it could be fine, but if Bryce is just like a QB12 middling quarterback, okay. But I think if Trey Lance hit,
you're already there. You're already there.
I've been going there all off season. I've been going there all off season, man. I've been out on Bryce Young.
You love to. I knew you were chomping at the bit because you have hated Bryce Young.
I've never been in. You've been trying to convince me that Bryce Young is good all off season. I'm like, man, just give me CJ Stroud,
hater, bro.
Just give me Stroud, and I'll be okay. And now I'm looking pretty damn good, right? So I'm happy. I'll take my Stroud, and I'll be happy about it. This Carolina trade is bad for Bryce Young, and it's bad for them.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Bryce is bad or that system, those skill players? How much of it is Carolina? How much of it is Bryce? He doesn't have anybody to throw to, man. He doesn't have any. There's no one's.
I mean, Adam Thielen looking pretty good. So here's the thing. Here's my point, right? Bryce Young is very young, very inexperienced, but what Andy Dalton did in that one game was pretty impressive for a quarterback who people expect nothing of, right?
He's and we talked about on the show for 15 years. He should be good.
Well, he should be good, but not all backup quarterbacks are good, right?
But you get what I'm saying. But he's not the average backup quarterback either. Like, come on, man. He's not.
No, he's not.
He's
above average for sure.
He's an above average career quarterback.
So the question is what do we expect from Bryce Young going forward? I think it's like very little because they don't have the capital to improve the team without signing players. And so they're relying on free agency. They're going to overpay for weapons. And we'll see what they can do. I don't think it's doom and gloom for Bryce Young, but it's definitely tough to see the outlook going up right now, only because he's looked so bad. And for a guy who's supposed to be, surgical in the pocket, really good pocket mobility, like he's not even showing some of the traits that made him great in college. And, you look at that Harrison Smith sack. Harrison Smith just sacked him coming off the edge. And in college, he spins out of that. But in the NFL,
they said it too.
He can't.
They said it during the broadcast.
You can't do that.
They literally said, listen, man. Things don't look very good right now for Bryce Young. I will admit, I was on the, if he fails, it's not going to be because he is 5'10", 190. And quite frankly, I don't think the size has been the biggest issue. It seems like the speed, right? It's the whole thing was CJ Stroud came from this offense where it has to be open and you got to see it and it's all open windows. And Bryce Young was the one that had to manipulate a pocket and move around and extend plays. And we're seeing almost the opposite come to fruition this season. So I'll just say that the Panthers skill position players are not very explosive. They're not. The offense just looks stale. It looks bland. It looks plain. The O-line, he has no time to throw. But there's no doubt. I mean, he's looking like not good right now. Things are not good right now for Bryce Young.
That cerebral aspect of Bryce Young's game, I don't think we've quite seen what we expected from him.
You can't use your brain when you ain't got no time to sit back here and think about shit. So, Jay, that was a long opening segment. I had fun doing it. We got to move on. Let's hit the injury news. There was a lot of stuff that popped off. Hit us real quick with the injury stuff, Jay.
All right, I will be very brief. T. Higgins, rib fracture, 2 to 4 weeks. We are expecting him back after the Week 7 bye, probably not before that. Justin Herbert's middle finger injury on his left hand may require surgery, hoping to be back for Week 6. They are on bye in Week 5. Kenny Pickett, left knee, looking like an MCL sprain. A lot of people were projecting that. I actually thought it was MCL sprain when I saw it. So Dr. JRich in the building. He would probably miss 2 to 4 weeks or so, depending on the severity. We're still waiting on an MRI to confirm all of that. We haven't had any updates on Pickett beyond it. Pat Freiermuth has a hamstring injury. He could miss a few weeks, could even potentially go on IR. The Steelers are on bye in Week 6. So same deal for Pickett, could be back for Week 7 if fully healthy. Javonte Williams' hip injury. We are waiting on an MRI to confirm that, I believe. Rico Dowdle's hip as well. Same hip he injured in 2021. X-rays were negative. Awaiting MRI for him. Juwan Johnson has a calf injury. Jeff Mueller, our injury analyst, his article will be up on DestinationDevy.com later today, but he was saying that he could end up on IR simply out of precaution because he has injured this calf before. Devonta Adams, right AC joint. We'll see what happens with him. Same injury that Brandon Ayuk had a few weeks ago. He obviously missed a week, but because Adams did come back and play, we are currently expecting him to play in week 5, but we'll see. Mike Evans, hamstring injury. Ray, you have in the notes, age plus past hamstring injury. So disrespectful. Mike Evans has a hamstring injury simply because he's old. Not expected to be an issue. Likely re-aggravation from week 1. Should be minor, but the Bucs are also on bye in week 5, so he should be back for week 6. Matt Stafford's right hip, we'll see what happens with him. Darnold Parham's wrist injury could be a bit of a problem, especially how he's been used in the red zone. And Alec Pierce has a concussion, which is not great. So we'll see what happens with him as well. But that's kind of most of the news. I'm pretty sure I got it all. Most of it was from Jeff's article. So shout out to Jeff. His article will be up on the site later today. If you want to go read the thorough deep dive on all of these players and more, Jeff will have you covered for that.
Hey, man, I put out an article on the website. It's free. Go to it, DestinationDevy.com. I talked about the changing landscape of Dynasty. I'm very curious as to feedback. So if anybody in the chat, anybody that reads the article after the show, leave a comment. Let me know what y'all think. The game has changed a little bit. I blame Underdog Fantasy a little bit for that. I blame Scott Connor for it partly. And there's just some interesting things I want people to think about a little bit. So go to DestinationDevy.com, check that out. But Jay, we got to get into the top 5 takeaways from each game from a fantasy perspective this weekend. So let's start this thing off with the Thursday night game that we didn't get a chance to talk about, Jay. And I want to go briefly through this real quick. So things from that game that we need to take away from. Let's pull the screen up real quick, man. Let's pull the screen up so we can have the box score stuff and do all that stuff because we like to, box score scout. Is it pulled up on the screen? All right. Lions-Packers Thursday. The Lions put foot in that ass. Jordan Love looked awful in that one. But big takeaways, David Montgomery's the guy, Jay. Like, there's no doubt about it. You look at it, 32 carries. Nobody was even close to him, and this is him coming back from the thigh injury where he was not supposed to play. He's in there, 32 carries, and he caught the ball 2 times. No doubt about it. We love Jahmyr Gibbs, but we can't ignore the fact that the team is telling us that David Montgomery is the guy. And what's so crazy to me, Jay, and I thought about tweeting this out, is we can buy into a 5'8", 190-pound running back after one historical game, yet I still get people asking me, Ray, I'm a contender. Is David Montgomery worth 2 seconds? Is David Montgomery okay enough to... What are we talking about? Is he okay? Hell yes! If they're going to give him 32 touches week in, week out, he's the goal line back. He's absolutely worth it, Jay. Big-time takeaway from that game. Also, we talked about him a little while ago. Sam Laporta is the future of the position. I mean, whether he's the tight end 1 today or the tight end 2 or the tight end 3, let me just ask you flat out, Kyle Pitts or Sam Laporta? Just Sam Laporta. Okay. Dalton Kincaid or Sam Laporta?
Sam Laporta.
George Kittle, Dallas Goedert.
Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta.
Yes.
He's top 5. He has to be.
He's top 3.
Kittle's a guy that I'm very concerned about right now.
I wouldn't be concerned about Kittle. He is what he is now in this offense. He's an awesome name that's not going to return the type of game that it costs to buy him. That's what Kittle has been. But people have not wanted to wise up to that, and they're still overpaying for that pocket of tight end. That might be the grossest tight end tier in Dynasty. Real talk. The Kittle,
name
Goddard,
but no game, as you call it.
Yeah, all name, no game. Kittle, Waller, Goddard, Njoku, Freiermuth. It is the tier where you have to pay
5 to 12, right?
Give me all the Jake Fergusons. Give me all of those guys. But I've been saying that. Don't pay up for those tight ends. All right, next takeaway, Jay. Romeo Doubs from the Green Bay Packers has been sneaky good this year. And he's one of these receivers that I might be talking about on the upcoming Trinity Report tomorrow. But Romeo Doubs, where are you at with him in this offense? Christian Watson was back. But Romeo Doubs looks like somebody that needs to be started every damn week right now.
Yeah, so 35% target share this week, right? He had 13 of, I believe, 36 pass attempts for Jordan Love. I think the more concerning part for Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson is that when you look at the splits of Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs playing together, it's basically a co-alpha scenario, right? And that was dating back with Aaron Rodgers last season. And that was the big point for people who were in on Christian Watson who wanted to kind of be detractors. was the fact that they did have similar target shares in this offense. So now you're seeing Dobbs dominate. And while, yeah, Christian Watson coming back off injury, we may see co-alphas going forward. And so it's hard to project kind of what that role looks like. But I think the bigger point is it's probably Christian Watson's sell season, not because he won't be good, but more so because he probably won't be great, because as you mentioned, Romeo Dobbs is doing great as well. So I think in that offense, we'll see some co-alphas have ups and downs from both guys and probably operate in that way going forward.
All right, Jay, let's keep it going. Number 4, Jordan Love was not good in this matchup. He had reached, I believe, QB 12 prices on Keep Trade Cut. Are you concerned about Jordan? Are you concerned about Jordan Love? Are you panicking on Jordan Love? And I asked you about him last week, and you said you were not quite ready to buy yet. Does this performance make you feel any worse about Jordan Love?
I think what happened is kind of what I feared from the beginning, right? Is I thought he was getting a little bit lucky in terms of touchdowns, and that's kind of played itself out over the past 2 weeks. First 2 weeks, 6 touchdowns. The past 2 weeks, only 2 touchdowns. And I think he's played all right, but in a lot of ways, Ray, he's just playing with nothing to lose. And I wish I could have came on the show on Friday because I was going to compare him to Rory McIlroy. It was a big Ryder Cup thing that I had going on. Ray, if you don't watch golf, right, Rory McIlroy, phenomenal golfer, like one of the best golfers in the world, not even close. But there's so many times that McIlroy will be out of a tournament on day 4, and he'll come so close to coming all the way back, right? He'll fight his way and claw his way all the way back to the top of the leaderboard and just fall short. And I feel like that's what Jordan Love is. He'll be out of a game entirely like they were on Thursday, ultimately to come back and make it somewhat close, but not too close enough, right? He did okay for fantasy, but he feels like a garbage man to some degree in terms of scoring fantasy points.
So Richie said Love was not fantastic, but as a Packers fan, that patchwork O-line did him no favors. And then my girl Jo in the building, and I don't know if we gave Jo a shout out, but recently engaged, she said,
yes, sir.
Love is a beautiful deep ball. I actually like what I've seen from Love. I'm with y'all. It was not an inspiring outing. They have I don't know why the Packers refused to use Aaron Jones. Maybe he was still a little banged up. But this is a very young team. I thought this was a welcome comeback to reality moment for everybody, but not nearly as nervous about Jordan Love as the next quarterback that we're going to talk about. And finally, after I give Jo all this praise, she's going to hate me for this one. But a real question for everybody in the chat, and I need y'all to hear me out before we say absolutely not. But at his current price of Dynasty wide receiver 3, would you be willing to cash out on Amon-Ra St. Brown? Is now the time to do the tier down, whether that's from Amon-Ra St. Brown to Devontae Smith plus, from Amon-Ra St. Brown to Brandon Ayuk plus, whatever receiver you want to insert in there. My question to you is he a dynasty sell sitting at wide receiver 3 when there are some things in his game that I've talked about ad nauseum that he's still not doing, which if he's not going to get it, it's going to limit how high he can finish in fantasy football. So is Amon-Ra St. Brown a sell in Dynasty, Jay?
I think he could be, yeah. You know, you talk about him being wide receiver 3. I think it's kind of a weird scenario where he's probably not going to command more than CeeDee Lamb on the open market, probably not going to command more than A.J. Brown on the open market, probably not going to command more than even Chris Olave on the open market, but yet he is wide receiver 3 in KTC, and that is what it is. But I've been on the sell Amon-Ra St. Brown train since last season, right? Because I didn't believe that he has this high-end upside that people ultimately thought he could have. And you look at a game like this where he was fine and he scored, but if he didn't score, he scores you 10 points, and that's only okay for a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 3 overall in fantasy. And so I'm kind of with you. I think he is a sell candidate. What I would sell him for is interesting. You know, you talk about Ayuk. Chad has it right here.
Ayuk in a 24 plus. Ayuk in a 24 first. Would you move Amon-Ra for Ayuk in a 24 first right now?
You could, but no Ayuk manager is doing that. No Ayuk manager is selling him for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Let me tell you this. If you're out there and you play Dynasty, never, ever, ever, ever count another man's pockets. Don't ever count somebody else's pockets and think what they would or would not do. Send the offer. If you would accept it, send the offer. So Ayuk in a 24 first, you'd move Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Absolutely. I'd move him for Ayuk straight up.
Right.
I'm moving for Ayuk straight up.
All right. Let's go to the next game. Now.
One thing I want to ask you about, Ray, though, very quickly. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But J-Mo is back. J-Mo got his suspension reduced. We didn't see this.
He did.
And so he will be back this week. Do you think there is, again, you talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, he could take opportunities away from Amon-Ra as well coming back into this offense?
I think he's going to get his air yards. He's going to be the downfield threat. And they get him a week earlier. This is good news for J-Mo.
Yeah, 2 weeks
early. All right, Jay. All right, let's go to the London game. Kicked off early in the morning. I am not going to lie to you. Watched very little of this one, Jay. But I didn't need to watch much because Twitter had it covered. And the number one takeaway is Desmond Ridder is not the guy. I mean, there was some enthusiasm that maybe he can be some game manager there and just get the job done. Jay, it's not looking good. He is limiting this offense. He's holding it back. Mac Hollins is pissed off after the fact. There's no handshakes and high fives for Drake London after another 3 for 20 pedestrian performance saved by a touchdown. Kyle Pitts is irrelevant. He's droppable in redraft. Trade him in Dynasty. You were right. I was wrong. Jonnu Smith is the tight end to own. I don't know what else you want me to say from this game from the Atlanta Falcons side of the ball. You cannot start Kyle Pitts in any format, even best ball. You can't even start him in best ball. He needs to be put on the bench, put away until he gets traded, cut, released. In this, whatever's going to happen, this is bad. Arthur Smith is awful. They need to keep losing so we can get a new quarterback in Atlanta. This is bad. Offensively, I don't want anything outside of Bijan Robinson and Jonnu Smith at this point. Those are the only two people I want from this damn offense. Jay, the other side of the ball, Christian Kirk. A lot of people rendered him dead after week one.
1 week, yeah.
It looks like he's the damn guy in that offense. We look at Travis Etienne, Jay. I put in the notes. He just feels like a guy at this point. He just feels like a body at running back. This was supposed to be a smash spot for him. They load him up with 20 carries. He gets you 55 freaking yards. The top 10 dynasty running backs is so freaking disgusting, Jay. Evan Ingram, severely underrated and slept on. Scott Connor's been talking about him for 2 years now. What other things do you want to take away from this one and go ahead and pop off about Kyle Pitts?
No, it's the thing about Kyle Pitts that sucks is that it wasn't that I thought he was going to be awful. It was just I thought he was a little bit overpriced, especially in Dynasty, right? You know, when you look at redraft and what I expected from him, I thought he'd be okay. He could fall in the tight end 6, tight end 7 range. But obviously, he's probably not even going to do that. You know, people can hate on Jonnu Smith all they want, but he had a 1,000-yard season with Arthur Smith in Tennessee, or very close to it, right? So he's very familiar with this system, and so he can easily step into this system in the middle of the offseason and thrive, and you're obviously seeing that. And as well, the tight end history for Arthur Smith frequently features 2 tight ends, not 1, but 2 a lot. And there's also the reports potentially that Kyle Pitts is still not 100% and not even close to it. So there is that factor as well. I'm not saying I'm out on Pitts. It's just you have to be wary of the situation. Ridley was definitely disappointing, but he did have AJ Terrell. He did draw some PIs, so he did his thing out there. He was okay, but for fantasy, obviously not great. But Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram were definitely the featured pieces here, and a great way to attack that Atlanta defense going forward. ETN kind of is what we thought he was. I was kind of in on ETN this year, but
so was I.
It's going to be okay, but the dynasty running back market is terrible. It's terrible.
Can we have a little conversation about old Trevor Lawrence real quick? Can we have a chit chat about T-Law?
Not good again. He was okay, I guess.
Dude, I can't have, he's not Jay.
He's not the guy, right?
I don't know. I don't want to say that, but the prices that we're the spot in which we have him elevated in Dynasty, the pantheon of quarterbacks, like it was a pretty common thing that there's no doubt T-Law over Lamar Jackson, T-Law over overall. I don't know, man. There's something
you
about.
You want the list of quarterbacks outscoring him right now?
I know. Brock Purdy's damn near. I made the
way
case
ahead
with
of him.
Jay. He's one where I don't know, man. Here's the thing. He's going to get a second. There's no doubt about it. He's getting a massive.
He's good.
We're not even insinuating anything of that nature. I just don't know if he's worth what he's valued at. I just don't. And if I can move down around from the Trevor Lawrence tier, I probably would, man. He feels like an overpriced. Feels very overpriced, Jay. That's all I can say.
Performing like Sam Howell, performing like Matthew Stafford, being outperformed by Geno Smith, Jared Goff, Joshua Dobbs, Baker Mayfield, obviously, CJ Stroud, Russell Wilson.
And we can't blame
Jordan
the weapons.
Love.
I don't want to hear anything about no damn weapons either. I don't want to hear nothing
man.
about no weapons either. I don't want to hear it.
Receivers, tight ends, running backs, he's got it all.
Listen, I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just asking some questions here. All right, Jay, we got another game, and let's start off with this man right here who was playing like a madman. Josh Allen, QB baller of the week. I mean, Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen after week 1 has been on a mission, and the Buffalo Bills put foot in ass this past weekend. So let's go through it, Jay. Takeaway number 1, Josh Allen playing like a freaking madman right now. Absolute out of his mind right now. What are your thoughts on Buffalo as I pull up the box score so we can just go through what happened in that game?
So the big thing for Buffalo, right? We'll quickly go through the stats with Josh Allen: 21 for 25, 320, 4 touchdowns, 3, of course, 2 Stefon Diggs, 6 receptions, 120, and 3. Also threw 1 to Gabe Davis, who went 3 for 61. But you talk about the wholesale for Buffalo. They are kind of who I thought they were coming in. A lot of people were kind of off Buffalo this season. 2 years in a row, Buffalo's going to the Super Bowl. They have one of the best teams. And then coming into this year, it was, well, maybe not, right? And I did have concerns about the weapons, and I still have concerns about the pass catchers because it doesn't seem like there's anything beyond Stefon Diggs. But this week it didn't matter, right? They played a lot of people's best team in the NFL, shut them down on defense. And I think more importantly, Ray, we talked about how it's difficult to start your quarterback against the Bills. And if Tua is going to have a rough week against the Bills defense, I think you'd say that about just about any quarterback in the NFL at this point. So Tua still had 282 with a touchdown and a pick. Obviously nothing on the ground for Tua in this one.
Got touched up for the first time this week too.
He did.
He got touched up for the first time. And he got touched up for the first time this season too. So that's the formula. You got to touch him up. You can't let him sit back there, get the ball out quick. Tyreek didn't do much. Waddle didn't do anything in this one. But Devon Achane, we're gonna say his name right. It's Achane. He's the RB1. Mostert, I believe, fumbled 2 times in this game. Achane didn't touch the ball a lot, but
lost one.
You see the speed, right? You see the explosiveness popping off. He had a 50-yard run, I believe, in that game.
55.
On the other side of the ball, James Cook didn't do much, Jay. You're a little concerned about James Cook, his role, his usage in this offense moving forward. It just feels like when Buffalo needs to have it, when they're in one of these kind of games where it at least feels like it's going to be competitive, it's going to be tough to get going, like it's Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs, who right now, or at least last night when we prepped this, he was valued as wide receiver 11 on KTC. Like, what the F are we doing? Stefon Diggs is a freaking baller, man. And he was even lower than that going into the season. I believe he was around like wide receiver 16, 17 because he's 29 years old. Like, these are the cats that are going to help you win it. Not no damn JSN. It's Stefon Diggs. It's Stefon Diggs and those companies. My question with you, Jay, is it fire up all offenses versus these two defenses moving forward in fantasy, or are these two offenses just that good where the defenses kind of don't matter? And the Bills did lose. Tough injury. Trey White, torn Achilles. Very, very bad.
Tore his Achilles?
Tore his Achilles, man. That is a rough injury. So prayers up for Trey White. But yeah, we firing up all offenses versus these defenses, Jay, or these offenses just good, and that's why the score was so high?
Absolutely not. You do not want to be starting your players against this Bills defense. I think you can make the case for the Dolphins, though. The Dolphins have been allowing a lot of points, and that's not necessarily two great defense or great offenses, right? So I think you can start players against the Dolphins. I think the biggest thing, like you mentioned, right, they've been giving up a ton of rushing yards, and this game they were like, we're stopping the run, and Josh Allen's like, okay, I'll just deal through the pocket, right? And they couldn't get enough pressure to get to him. Obviously, only 2 sacks, 89 QBR, which is insane. Perfect passer rating at that, 158.3, and ran for a touchdown. Yeah. Allen was phenomenal in this one. He really cemented himself as an elite quarterback and had to prove to the masses yet again that he is better than Tua Tagovailoa, but he did that, and he delivered. As you talked about with Stefon Diggs, he was wide receiver 15 pretty much all off season and is rising with his performances throughout the season so far.
All right, Jay, we are on to the Denver Broncos, who had no business winning this game. They definitely deserved to lose this one, but somehow Sean Payton pulls a rabbit out of his ass, and they win the game 31-28, or Chicago just gave it up. I mean, 17 points in the fourth quarter. Woof. Chicago and this Matt Eberflus defensive-minded team just, man, Justin Fields, best day as a pro, Jay. Best day as a pro, 335 yards. He gave you 25 on the ground, only 1 interception. Jay, we asked the question, is Fields back? Talk about his performance and how we should be treating him moving forward in Dynasty.
I think you should be cautiously optimistic, right? A lot of people are going to say you should be selling Justin Fields, and I don't think that you're going to get the return you're hoping for right now, but 28 for 35, 335 yards. Still being outpaced in 300-yard games by CJ Stroud, but that's okay. He did have 25 on the ground, but I thought Denver did a phenomenal job keeping him in the pocket. There's really only that one run where he was back there for like 5 seconds, finally broke free, but DJ Moore was phenomenal. Cole Kmet was phenomenal. I think the bigger point here is that the Denver Broncos have historically the worst defense of all time in terms of DVOA, Ray. They are the worst. They are worse than the 2008 Detroit Lions, who went 0-16. So fire up literally any player you have against this Denver Broncos defense, because they are the worst defense of all time right now. So you have to be cautiously optimistic, as you have here. Cole Kmet, tight end baller of the week, narrowly outscored Mark Andrews, 7 receptions, 85 yards, and 2 tutties. But yeah, you know, I was happy with what I saw, and he did what he needed to do. But am I enthused? No, because they're still 0-4. They have the top 2 picks in the draft, and you can't feel confident that Justin Fields is their starting quarterback in 2024 right now.
On the other side of the ball, man, Russell Wilson has quietly been cooking in Denver, despite their record, despite how bad the team has played. And the big problem is defensively. This was supposed to be a great defensive team. They've been awful defensively, but Russell Wilson, I would say he is not the reason why Denver's losing games. So if you were able to grab Russell Wilson on the low, 223, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, like it just feels like a discombobulated mess offensively. I don't know if they want to run the ball. Samaje Perine, they bring him in. He does nothing. Javonte Williams gets hurt. Jaleel McLaughlin goes in. He's the one scoring all the damn touch. Let me just tell you right now, if you have him and somebody's offering you a second, just trade him. He's 5'8", 180 something. We saw Denver do this with Phillip Lindsay a couple of years ago. Just trade him if you get anything for him. But I mean, Samaje Perine, maybe he's going to get some more opportunity. DJ Moore and Kmet, like, this is who should lead the team in targets and receptions every single week. So hopefully they can continue that positive momentum moving forward. And the Roschon Johnson breakout that we all been waiting for is going to have to wait another week, because Khalil Herbert ran well, had over 100 yards on the ground. He ran. I gave him credit. I'm not the biggest Khalil Herbert fan, but he ran well in this matchup, Jay. Anything else you want to take away? I mean, the receivers for Denver, I mean,
they're okay. They spread it around a ton, right?
Russ was
good.
Yes, he was good. He's going to throw to whoever's open, right?
Yeah, that's it. He's going to throw to who's open, and he was pretty good in this game. You know, he's our QB 10 right now in points per game, so he's playing very, very well, and I think we expect that to continue. And this is where I think it's hilarious, right? I'd almost make the comp to Brandon Staley, right, with how bad Denver looks right now, and, you know, even go back to Nathaniel Hackett. But at least the offense looks competent this year, and I think that's a product of Sean Payton. It's just the defense and Vance Joseph have not figured it out at all, and as I mentioned, historically bad defense overall. But Ray, what's the next game you want to get to? Because this one was a real stinker after even though Denver did come back.
Well, we got 360 in the building, man. Hit the thumbs up button, like the content, man. Y'all gotta like this, like the content, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, do all that good stuff. But the next game we're gonna talk about, Jay, game was very bad. The game was very bad, but I want to talk about a player that I feel like we may be underrating a little bit. I don't have KTC pulled up, Jay. If you can, let me know where Lamar Jackson is ranked right now in Dynasty. Baltimore put a beat. QB6. Okay, there we go. Who's ahead of him? What? I know 3, but who are the other?
Burrow and Herbert, and then the big 3.
We'll talk about Burrow in a minute. Cleveland did not have Deshaun Watson in this matchup, Jay. He was it's been limited. He was limited like all week with a shoulder injury. DTR started the game. We were excited about DTR in the preseason, but preseason and regular season, very big difference. Didn't play well. Didn't expect him to play well. 3 interceptions. Got sacked multiple times. Could have had even more. There's not a lot to take away from the Browns side of the ball, Jay. There really is not. They didn't do anything on the ground, didn't do anything through the air. On the Ravens side of the ball, the thing that I want to do is give Lamar Jackson his friggin' flowers, man. Every year, we go out here and we talk about if he could just have some of the weapons that he entered the season with. I would love to see Lamar. We were so excited because this year he was going to have J.K. Dobbins. He has Todd Monken. He's got multiple tight ends, Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. Then you get to the season, line is a mess, both receivers out. He's got a rookie receiver and Mark. It's the same stuff with Lamar Jackson. And somehow, Jay, on 19 pass attempts, he gets 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. And I know the stat line doesn't look good, 15 for 19, 186. I'm just impressed with him always having to drag this damn team along and still put up numbers for us from a fantasy perspective. Mark Andrews smashed this game. I mean, no running game whatsoever. I mean, just talk about Lamar for a minute and how freaking good he is, because that is really the takeaway. Andrews is dope. We all know that. We're excited about Zay Flowers moving forward in Dynasty, but just talk about Lamar and his ability to just drag half-ass teams around year after year, it feels like.
Yeah, not only did he drag this half-ass team around, right, but he did it against this Browns defense that, shout out to Brett Coleman, he was saying, he tweeted this out this morning, that not only did Lamar Jackson have a great performance where you talked about 15 for 19, 186 and 2, but he did against a defense that's only allowed 5 first downs on average a game to start the season. Not like in a quarter, not in a half, in a game. 5 first downs, right? That's how great this Browns defense has been all year. Now it's tougher when you don't have a quarterback to kind of take some of the pressure off of you. But I think the Ravens did do a good job. They kept the ball out of Lamar's hands to limit the potential damage that could happen if they throw the ball a lot. And I think that was a great game plan by Todd Monken, because as much as you do want to pass the ball to win the game, they knew they didn't have to do a lot. So they just gave it to Gus Edwards and gave it to Melvin Gordon. And Lamar Jackson ran when he had to score touchdowns. And then he made timely throws, and they were very difficult throws to Mark Andrews when he scored some great plays to Zay Flowers as well. And he only got the ball to those 2 guys. The rest of the players hardly did anything. Nelson Aguilar had a few targets. Gus Edwards had a couple, right? Melvin Gordon caught a pass. But for the most part, it was Flowers, Andrews, and Lamar getting it done with the running game supplementing the passing game. And I thought they did a great job, had a great game plan. I wish they could have done a little bit more on offense, but they just didn't have to. And so they ran the heck out of the ball. They played good on defense, and they did enough to win the game. And I thought it was a great performance all around by the Baltimore Ravens.
All right, Jay, we're moving on. I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the top takeaways from the Pittsburgh Steelers Houston Texans game. You mentioned it earlier, Kenny Pickett injured his knee, I believe. I don't know if there's any more official word. Not good. But let's start out, Jay. I just want to talk about Nico Collins. Nico Collins, I believe he's 5th in the NFL in receiving yards. He's one of the few receivers in the NFL that does don that prototypical alpha wide receiver size at 6'4", 215 pounds, a player that we liked a lot coming out of Michigan. I got some receipts out there how excited I was for some Nico Collins. He's got Trinity usage, and if you guys have not tapped into the Trinity series, go look at that. It is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. People seem to like it. I mean, rest of the season, man, he's a top 20 option rest of the way. He's a locked and loaded, fire him up, start him, because his rookie quarterback, Jay, just throws for 300 yards every time he goes out there. CJ Stroud is doing stuff right now that is on a historical pace, historical level, and we're going to play a little would you rather with CJ Stroud. We're going to play a little would you rather with CJ Stroud. So, Jay, right now, would you rather CJ Stroud or Trevor Lawrence in Dynasty?
I genuinely think I want CJ Stroud. Like, he just looks like a better quarterback right now, and with a way worse team. Give me CJ Stroud.
Would you rather CJ Stroud or Joe Burrow in Dynasty? You better not get crazy here, Jay. You better not.
I want Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. But, Ray, as you recall, the ceiling comp for CJ Stroud was Joe Burrow.
It wasn't no damn. No one said no Joe Burrow. It was okay.
It was Joe Burrow.
Final one: CJ Stroud or Tua in Dynasty right now.
I think you want Tua. I do. Tua's just.
It's interesting. It's
offense
interesting.
Is so good, man.
It's interesting. You were a little more hesitant on Burrow than Tua, yet Burrow's the one with the deal. Burrow's the one tied to Jamar Chase. Burrow's the one that you've seen do it consistently. It's interesting. It's just interesting that you were kind of no-brainer on Tua and a little, on Joe Burrow.
Man, Burrow looks so bad. He looks so bad.
The Bengals
He's dealing with injury. The Bengals are bad. Like, it's bad.
Marlon says Stroud or Deshaun?
Stroud.
What? I'm taking.
I like Deshaun, though.
Yes.
But it's not looking good.
I'm good. All right. Another takeaway from that game. Jay, Najee Harris is still the guy. He's still the main running back, and this was his best performance of the season, 14 for 71, averaging 5 yards a pop. But they are using Jaylen Warren just enough for it to not even matter. Like, he's getting 8 to 9 carries, and then you see him in the receiving game, 6 targets to Najee Harris's 2 targets. This just feels like a very muddied backfield, and with no Kenny Pickett right now, I have no clue what to expect from the Mitchell Trubisky-led offense, but we did get a sound bite, Jay, from old Mike Tomlin. From Mike Tomlin. Let's see what old Mike Tomlin had to say about this Pittsburgh team.
Changes regarding, hell yeah, we got to make some changes, man. That was an ugly product we put out there today, and so we're not going to do the same things and hope for a different outcome. What those changes are, man, we'll put together a plan in preparation this week.
Okay, so Mike Tomlin saying that he's got to make some changes to this Pittsburgh Steelers offense, Jay. Does that mean a firing of Matt Canada? Does that mean I don't know what this means, but Tomlin saying changes are on the way. Are you optimistic that these changes are going to yield positive fantasy results for us from old Mike Tomlin?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't think Matt Canada is going to get fired in season. But yeah, if you have Mitchell Trubisky as your quarterback, good things are not headed your direction. You know, you talked about Najee Harris. He's being outscored still by Jalen Moore, and he's scoring comparable to Gus Edwards and Chuba Hubbard. So he may be the guy, but I can't say I really care if he is. Hope to see more Jalen Moore, but I don't think it's coming. But yeah, if they make changes, that's great. All Mike Tomlin's doing is defining insanity at the podium, doing the same things and expecting a different result. Nothing's going to change, I don't think, for the Steelers the way they're constructed right now, and I don't think anything can really fix them at this point.
Well, let's talk about your boy George Pickens, who did lead the team in targets, but Woo. Jay, the step forward for him taking over and being this target monster, alpha, dominant receiver have not come to fruition yet for old George Pickens. How are you feeling about your boy taking that step forward? Do you think things will get better with these changes that Mike Tomlin is planning on implementing and potentially a quarterback change with Mitch Trubisky coming in for Kenny Pickett?
I think things could get better for George Pickens, right? You know, Kenny Pickett's been okay at times, but he's also looked pretty bad. So if you think about
he's been pretty bad.
Right?
He looked okay in preseason.
The thing is, he's made some big throws that has actually, yielded results for George Pickens. So, take it for what it is. George Pickens had a big play, and that's pretty much it. He's made some fantastic catches, but this is where I make the comp to Cortland Sutton for George Pickens. He can do the spectacular, but he can't necessarily do it all the time, right? It's just not possible to do things like that. So he needs to do things more routinely. I think these changes could be good for Pickens because we don't expect Deontay back anytime soon. So if they just make a concerted effort to get him the ball more often, he could be better for fantasy, but I still don't believe he's an alpha or this top, even 20 receiver at this point.
Freiermuth, Wolf, everyone that drafted it. It's just this is just a disgusting offense.
It's a bad team.
And my question is, Jay, Steelers are drafting a quarterback in 24, aren't they? They're re-rolling it. If you have Kenny Pickett now, would you sell? And I'm going straight rock bottom. A 24-second. Would you get rid of Kenny Pickett in Superflex? Just question. Nobody is giving you a first rounder. So get that out of your psyche. No one's giving. Who would you? Okay, would you rather Kenny Pickett edition? Here, I'm just giving you one name.
Oh, boy.
One name. And it's going to transition us to that game. Kenny Pickett or Baker Mayfield in Dynasty?
Oh, man.
Come on.
I think the answer could be Baker Mayfield. I really do. Because what are you playing for with Kenny Pickett right now? You're not playing for next season.
You got the capital.
You don't know if he's going to be there. So
he's going to be there. He's going to be there. He's going
to be on the roster, but he's the starting quarterback, as you just mentioned.
Probably, but that doesn't mean that's going to preclude them from drafting a quarterback. But right. Kenny Pickett or Baker Mayfield, pick one. What side?
I'm fine taking Baker. I'm fine taking Baker. He's like QB 13 right now on the season. Look how quick about the game right now.
Look how quick you bailed on your boy, man. You pumped Pickett up to the high heavens all off season.
He was looking so good, man.
You tried. What happened? You couldn't wait to jump down my neck about damn Bryce Young and your boy Kenny Pickett looking just as bad. Just as bad. But let's go ahead and pivot to the Tampa Bay game. It's not even next on the show sheet, but let's pivot to them because the Buccaneers are in sole possession of first place, Jay. Number one in that division, the NFC South. We thought it would be competitive. Tampa Bay beats the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr miraculously plays out of nowhere. Didn't think he was going to be in the game. But big takeaway, Alvin Kamara was back, Jay. AK-41 was back, and he set records. My dog set an NFL record for the fewest receiving yards on the most catches in NFL history. He had 13 catches, Jay. 13 for 33 yards, and then he gave you 51 yards on the ground, which is good. everybody out there who was like, oh, this is going to be a 1A, 1B with Kendre Miller. It ain't happening, Jay. It ain't.
What happened?
I got to mute the tab. I can't hear. I can't hear. Everyone who said, Jay, it was going to be Kendre Miller, Alvin Kamara, backfield. It ain't happening, Jay. It's all AK-41. What do you think? What do you think? Well, matter of fact, Jay, I don't even want to tell you what we think. Let's listen to Kamara. Kamara had some words for us. Let's listen to Kamara. Let's listen.
It's been 2 years since we come here, or however long since we had that offense that was rolling. Now we kind of in this rut of, it's what it is right now, what you see. So, like I said, we got to have some conversations about something, because I don't like losing. It's been 2 years.
So Kamara is a little upset. He said it's been 2 years since they utilized me, and we got to make. So he just came back from being suspended, and he's already disgruntled and calling out the coaches. Dennis Allen feels like he's on his way out of New Orleans. It's just this team, man. And one of the big takeaways. My question is this, Jay. Chris Olave in this game didn't do anything. He had 6 targets, 1 catch, 4 yards. Derek Carr trying to struggle to throw the ball. Is Olave good enough to overcome this bad offense? Like, is he good enough to just be fed targets? And are they even going to do that with him? We see what Kamara did when he came back. And this is why, for me, he was an easy buy and underdog. Like, the moment he's back, it's not going to be no damn Kendre Miller. They're going to load him up with all the touches possible, because he's probably not going to be on the team next year. So might as well get the usage out of him while we're here. Is Olave good enough to thrive if this offense can't throw the ball down the field?
Yeah, he absolutely is. And I think that's the biggest, this is probably one of the bigger overreactions we may have if you're out on Chris Olave at this point, because he's one of 3 wide receivers in the NFL with 10 plus targets in each of the first 3 games, right? And he was great in all 3 of those games. This game, Carr has a shoulder injury. Maybe they can't get the ball down the field because of that. And overall, the offense is bad. But for me, at least, you look at Chris Olave, he's a phenomenal talent, right? I think he can overcome the situation because I believe the volume will be there. But this game, for whatever reason, they couldn't get him the ball. He couldn't do anything with it. And I think, this Tampa Bay Bucks defense knows this team very well. The team isn't as good as it was hoping to be. And the Bucks just looked better than them. And I think they just absolutely dominated the entire game from start to finish. But I do believe Chris Olave can overcome it. I think the better question, though, is how good is Baker Mayfield right now, Ray? And would you be actually trading for him? Because he had a phenomenal performance without Mike Evans. It's been Mike Evans all year long, and Mike Evans got hurt, and what happened? Went straight to Chris Godwin, and Chris Godwin had over 100 yards. You see Baker Mayfield 25 for 32, 3 touchdowns against a pretty damn good Saints defense. They were missing a couple pieces, but still a great defense overall. Would you be buying Baker Mayfield as a QB2 in Dynasty right now?
I want to. We need to really dive into the Baker Mayfield sort of career arc. Because I do believe that there are quarterbacks like a Baker Mayfield, like a Jared Goff, who it just doesn't work out, or it starts off positive in one situation and things just deteriorate. I mean, it's a relationship. In relationships, that happens in relationships sometimes, where you just grow apart or things just don't end up working out. But then you bounce around a little bit, and it seems like he's found a spot. It doesn't seem as pressing for Tampa Bay to go out and blow, if they're picking in the 20s, reaching for a quarterback like a Bo Nix, right? Like, Baker Mayfield's probably better than anything that you're getting outside of Caleb or Drake May, at least early right now, what it looks like. Is he the long-term answer? I'm not sure about that, Jay, but quarterbacks like this always seem to get a chance, right? They're always going to get an opportunity to get in there and start. Could this be a career path like that Kenny Pickett has to travel, that a Mac Jones may have to travel, where their original teams tire of them, they have to go somewhere else, sort of journeyman, and bigger thing is testament to Baker Mayfield for continuing to hone his craft, because there were so many times he could have been just written off for dead. And clearly his dedication to the game has kept him around. I don't know how old. How old is Baker? How old is Baker Mayfield? He can't be that old, is he?
He's 28.
28
I mean,
years
he's an older
old?
prospect, right?
Yeah,
but I
28.
think Joe said it, right? He said it's the fact he's number 1 overall pick. And I think it's important to remember that, yes, not all number 1 picks are created equal, but there's a reason why he was the number 1 overall pick. There really is a reason why he was the number 1 overall pick. And he's playing like it right now. And this is the same guy who broke the rookie touchdown record in his rookie season. So there is things to like with Baker. He's thrown 7 touchdowns right now. He's been great so far in this offense. And I think this is where I was kind of talking about the Bucks, especially, on my pod early on, about why they could be good, because they've always had a good team.
Yes.
And it didn't make sense why they're being so discounted. It was really just the quarterback play. But much like Jonnu Smith, if the quarterback play is good enough, right, which I think we can say Baker is good enough, if not better than that, they're going to be just fine, and they're playing like it right now. Definitely going to win the South. If they keep playing the way they're playing, it's not even close. Every other team in the South stinks.
It's 4 games in, but I'll just say this. Let's give credit to Baker Mayfield, and if you have him right now, you paid absolutely nothing for him. So you're just realizing those points. So good for you Baker managers out there. Rachaad White, another pedestrian game. I don't want anything to do with Rachaad White. He just feels like a guy, like just a jag of a running back, Jay. So let's move on to the next matchup and talk about let's just do it, man. I'm done beating around the bush. This is panic mode for the Cincinnati Bengals at this point, Jay. Cincinnati loses pretty handedly to the Tennessee Titans, who, again, we continue to talk about Tennessee not having offensive weapons, and they went out there and put foot in Cincinnati's ass. Derrick Henry was the king again. When they fed him the ball, he still looked like Derrick Henry. DeAndre Hopkins should have had a touchdown in this matchup, and Ryan Tannehill, even though the QBR was low and all of that, finds a way to get it done. On the other side of the ball, Jay, Joe Burrow. What's going on with Cincinnati in this offense and all the points that we expected, and what's happening in Cincinnati right now?
I think it's just they can't find their groove, right? For whatever reason, Zach Taylor has not been able to put this team in situations where they can win football games. And I think a lot of it is driven by the fact that they are so reliant on Joe Burrow. Like, this team is so reliant on Joe Burrow and really always has been. You talk about Joe Mixon and what he's done for this team in the past. He can't do that anymore. He can't put this team on his back. You look at last weweek, they had to move Jamar Chase into the slot just to get him the ball. Right, I didn't watch that much of this game.
We got something from Jamar Chase because he has something for you, JRich. Here's Jamar. Here's
me.
Jamar. Yeah.
I'm open. I'm always fucking open. Excuse my profanity. I'm sorry. I'm open. I'm always fucking open. Excuse my profanity. I'm sorry. I'm open. I'm always fucking open. Excuse my profanity. I'm sorry. I'm open.
I'm always effing open.
I'm always open.
I'm always effing open. Excuse my profanity.
What a receiver thing to say.
Yeah, I'm always. I mean, it's the stare for me. I mean, that was going to be my profile pic. But go ahead, man. Joe Burrow's hurt. He's hurt. He can't move around. He's not throwing the ball downfield. Look, the QB. This is, man. This is
the worst. This is the worst we've ever seen Joe Burrow play. Like, by far. It's the worst we've ever seen him play. And this is a good defense, like, especially in the run game, but it's in the passing game that we expect them to be better. But when you can't stretch the ball down the field, that's the big problem here, is that you need to stretch the field to score points against Tennessee, and you're not going to.
Fizzle said the truth is out in Cincy. Burrow lost that game, shouldn't have been out there. You know?
He did. But it's the same thing with Carr, though. Carr should not have played in that game. Clearly. Look at the way he played.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same situation, and especially when you have Tennessee's pass rush coming down at you, it's going to be very difficult to win football games, and I don't know how the Bengals solve their problem with Joe Burrow at quarterback unless, like they did last week. They kind of just put together a good performance, but it took a lot from Burrow to win that game last week.
Yeah, I don't know why. When I saw the Saquon Barkley news that he was probable, and I'm just like, dude, don't play. Just sit down, man. Like, don't do it. But who are we? We're not in that. We're not in there. We don't know anything.
They want to play,
Jay.
man. They want to play.
Let me ask this again. We talked about this in the beginning of the show. Is it time to sell T. Higgins in Dynasty? I know Joe's in here. She loves her some T. Higgins, but I'm just asking the question, Jay. Are you selling T. Higgins, man? Where's he at? Where's he ranked right now? Where's KTC at?
Wide receiver 14.
Ain't no way.
Wide receiver 14 and falling. So behind him, Ray, just for reference, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and obviously you go further down the list from that, Drake London, Deebo Samuel.
Puka Nacua or T. Higgins?
Ray?
Don't Ray. I'm asking you.
Ray?
I'm asking you.
The answer might be Puka Nacua. Let's just be honest. The answer might be Puka Nacua. It's not for sure Puka Nacua, but it might be Puka Nacua because he's got more receiving yards right now than T. Higgins will probably have by week 11. So let's just be honest.
They're not re-signing him, are they?
No, there's no way. There's no way. Not being hurt 2 years in a row. There's no way. But the thing is, though, Ray, if you do trade for T on the low, you may be getting him on a new team where he can be the number one in an offense, but that's a big projection, right?
Yep.
It is.
Yep. All right. Would you rather? Let's go a little would you rather quarterback edition. I've only got 3 names for you. We got Joe Burrow on the hot seat. Would you rather right now in Dynasty, Anthony Richardson or Joe Burrow?
Oh, Ray, I really want to say Anthony Richardson, but it's too early. It's still Joe Burrow.
Okay.
I can't trade Joe Burrow right now.
Okay. Oh, well, I got one more for you. One more. Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow right now?
You should want Lamar Jackson right now.
Okay.
You should. You should.
All right, Jay.
Both are under contract. Both are on good teams. So
let's move on to Washington, Philly, where we had an overtime game. We had an overtime thriller. Sam Howell.
Good game.
Sam Howell out there bombing it away. Commanders let one go. Ron Rivera said his team was too tired to go for two at the end of the game after the walk-off to send the team to overtime. So the Eagles pull out another victory. Team started off a little slow offensively, yet they got it popping. Jalen Hurts got it going to A.J. Brown, who we told people, you watch the Trinity series, don't panic on A.J. Brown. All the receiving peripherals are there. And then he smashes with 9 for 75, 2 touchdowns. Devonta Smith played a good complimentary role. Dallas Goedert, the overpriced tight end that he is, went 2 for 25. DeAndre Swift balling out. This gives me hope for Jahmyr Gibbs in 2027 that he'll eventually be what we all wanted him to be in 2023. On the other side of the ball, we talked about the aforementioned Sam Howell bouncing back from his worst game as a pro. He made a lot of good throws in this game, still getting sacked a lot, Jay. And I've been paying more attention to quarterbacks holding the ball forever, looking at Justin Fields. I heard some data on Bryce Young holding the ball, and it had me thinking, like I'm watching Shedeur Sanders. That's my boy. Like, you got to throw the ball away. Sam Howell holds the ball for a little bit. But I thought he had some big-time plays in this game today, and he gave you yards on the ground. So I'm just going back to the question, like, is there something here, like, not saying he's going to be a fantasy superstar, Jay, but is this a starting quarterback in the NFL? Is Sam Howell, if they're not pulling him, I'll tell you right now, he looks a lot better than Bryce Young. He looks a lot better than Desmond Ridder. Is Sam Howell a starting quarterback in the NFL, and would you be willing to bet on that moving forward? Would you pay 2 seconds to get Sam Howell in Dynasty? Do you think there's something there? Because I think Ron Rivera is on his way out.
Yes.
And with a new head coach, and if it's not Bieniemy, it's just tough to see a new head coach coming in saying, I'm buying into 5th rounder Sam Howell. But where are you with Sam Howell in Dynasty?
So the biggest thing with Sam Howell for me is really the sacks, as you mentioned, right, Ray? So he leads the NFL in sacks with 19. Do you know what the next closest team is and who it is?
Probably the Patriots.
I don't know if they're up there, but it's Tennessee, right? But they only have 13 sacks allowed. So Ryan Tannehill has 13 sacks. Sam Howell has 19, right? That's a whole game worth of sacks that he's taking over the next opponent. So when you're that behind the sticks, it's hard to win on offense, right? But Sam Howell is getting it done. You talk about a guy who looks ice cold in a massive moment in a game against a phenomenal team. Sam Howell did not flinch in that throw to Jahan Dotson. He did not flinch in that sideline throw to Terry McLaurin late in the game with like 3 seconds to play. So you look at that aspect of it. If a coach can see those attributes and say, okay, we can win with this guy, cool, but he really has to clean up the sacks, really has to clean up the decision-making because he doesn't always make good decisions, but he has been fairly accurate, he has been pretty good, and he has a plethora of weapons to throw the ball to. I think it sucks that Diami Brown is taking away from the offense. People got to remember, played with him in college, chemistry is there, so he's going to be a factor because Sam Howell likes him and trusts him.
Yeah, somebody, Ridley Truther said Washington football team just has Philly's number. One game every year. And that was the last, I think that was the last.
Last game Jalen Hurts lost.
Yeah, last game Hurts lost was against the Washington football team. A.J. Brown, a beast. Sam Howell doing well. DeAndre Swift. Go ahead. You had a question for DeAndre Swift. You had a question about DeAndre Swift. What was your question?
So my question, Ray, was about the 2020 draft class, right?
Okay.
And is DeAndre Swift the best running back in the 2020 draft class who featured Clyde Edwards-Helaire, of course, the aforementioned DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, A.J. Dillon, Joe's boy, Antonio Gibson, and Zach Moss is really the only other relevant running back right now. Jonathan Taylor, of course, is the most talented running back, but could DeAndre Swift go down as the best running back from the 2020 draft class? He's RB14 right now on KTC. JT's RB8. He's coming for JT. He's coming for him right now.
It's still JT, but Swift is the RB2 that he always was, Jay. It's still JT. even though the reports are 0 offers for JT. They want a second. Yeah. Nobody's paying zero offers for that JT. Swift is good, man. And it's that archetype of run. I'm telling you, it's that archetype of running back, man. They don't. I want those kind of guys. I want those kind of guys.
But Swift is doing it on the ground too, though. Like he's doing things that we didn't think he could do.
We did think he could do those things, and they're not giving him 25 touches up the gut. He's getting 14 carries. That's how he should be used. And Philadelphia is creating huge running lanes. Swift is good. Swift is very good. A.J. Brown is very good, too. I just want to re-highlight that again. A.J. Brown is very good. All right, Jay, let's get to the mid-off. This is a mid-tier quarterback game, just an absolute mid-fest of quarterbacks.
Terrible game.
The Minnesota Vikings and the Carolina Panthers just... Jay,
how did they blow this game?
I had Kirk Cousins ranked inside my top 5 quarterbacks. I was like, Cousins is going to light this team up. And just awful. Absolutely lit me up from a fantasy perspective. Oh my goodness, what do we got up there in the top right above our heads? Look at this. Look, 15% off these panties.
Let's cover that up. Oh,
let's cover those panties up. We don't need to see that.
Right. What have you been searching? Shopping for the wife.
I'm not doing.
Your ads are something.
I swear I'm not going to Etsy to get lingerie for the
We gotta get you an ad blocker, my friend. My goodness.
All right, Jay, come on.
Okay, so Minnesota
these two quarterbacks. It was awful.
Bryce Young also stinks. End of the game. Chuba Hubbard somehow got the most rushing yards in this game. Split carries with Miles Sanders. Cam Akers looked pretty good. Alexander Mattison, though, not bad. 5.6 a carry. Justin Jefferson, still wide receiver 1, 6 receptions, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. But they didn't throw the ball a lot in Minnesota. They ran the ball. They controlled the clock. Bryce Young basically threw the game away to some degree. He didn't play very well. 5 sacks again for Bryce Young. Ray, did you see him scramble? I thought he was done. When he scrambled and got hit, oh, man. I've never been more scared for Bryce Young in my entire life. But this game was terrible. It was so bad. Kirk Cousins threw a pick 6. That was brutal. It just trade the guy. Like, I don't know what Minnesota's doing, but at least they won the game.
Alexander Mattison, he got the veteran. They gave him all the work, and he played well, man. He got you 95 on the ground. He didn't fumble the ball this week. He was holding it with 2 hands. Akers did look good, and I expect his workload to increase. I do think, and you see who's not on this list, Jay. What running back from Minnesota is not there from this past week?
Chandler.
No Ty Chandler. So say what you want. They gave him some opportunity. Akers looked good. Like, he did look good with the limited work that he got. It'd be interesting to see those guys moving forward. Justin Jefferson, 2 touchdowns. Finally, we're getting Justin Jefferson touchdowns. We see Akers involved in the receiving game. Just a consolidated offense. Kirk Cousins was awful in this one. He didn't even throw the ball a lot. Like, this game was just so bad. 19 pass attempts for Cousins, man.
Did you see Harrison Smith he was the first player ever with 14 tackles, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble or something like that.
It was all over the place. All over the place. Yeah. And again, Bryce Young, Jay, getting the ball to Adam Thielen. I know people do not want to hear it, but Adam Thielen is a must start. Like, he's getting all of the important things. He's getting the targets. He's getting downfield. He's doing stuff after the catch. He's a must start wide receiver. I'm not telling you if you only got 2 wide receiver spots, he's a top 24 guy, but he's definitely a top 36 receiver moving forward. Jay, an exciting game, man. Another overtime matchup.
Big comeback.
The Rams and the Colts. Matthew Stafford. Man, when we're talking about comeback player of the year, Jay, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, who do you think comeback player of the year is right now?
I think the answer is Baker, only because has a better record and probably going to win his division. The Rams are not winning their division. I think we can confidently say that. But Matthew Stafford definitely deserves to be in the conversation. I think we should talk about Baker, how he was basically left for dead, played on 2 teams last year. And I think as well, people have a lot of love for Baker, right? So you think about what he came from, coming back. If they win the division, I think he could easily become comeback player of the year. But we've been on Matthew Stafford from week 1. We were like, this guy looks a lot better than he did last year. Even without Cooper Kupp, it is week 5, right? Cooper Kupp could be back. We don't know if he's going to be back.
They said he's practicing.
319 yards, a touchdown. It's really just the touchdowns for Stafford. He's not throwing any touchdowns.
Yeah,
he'd be a phenomenal quarterback for fantasy. But Puka Nacua, 163, and the game winner Phenomenal performance from him, and Kyren Williams continues to get the work. 25 carries, 103, and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, you have everyone's favorite running back, Zach Moss, on the other side. But talk about Anthony Richardson, Ray, because this was a game that was out of hand early, and they roared all the way back with some phenomenal plays from Anthony Richardson and some phenomenal play calling from Shane Steichen.
Yeah, it's Steichen and JRich. It was JRich's first game back. I thought he played well. He had some nice throws down the field. Josh Downs, there was a seam route that he hit. The touchdown throw to Mo Alley Cox. He's falling down sideways, throwing the ball. Like, he's awesome for fantasy. I mean, he probably could have 100 rushing yards if he wanted to. Didn't put the ball in harm's way too many times. You're going to have to live with some of that for JRich. But you talked about it from a point-per-game basis. He's a top 5 quarterback right now as a rookie. This offensive line is playing well. The running game is doing well. They just need some weapons. This is one where the Trinity receiver that we love, Michael Pittman, had a down game. It's going to take some time for him to get it back. Kind of sucks, but I'm not concerned long term. Like, this is an encouraging look for the Indianapolis Colts. And I know this sounds like selfish. I want them to lose, Jay. I want them to get another receiver. I want them to upgrade the offensive line, because he is the type of quarterback that this is why he was the 101. This is why, in my opinion, and I've not backed off of this stance since January or December, he was the 101. I want the quarterbacks in Superflex formats. No matter how good Bijan looks, give me this kind of guy, this type of talent, this type of skill set. Puka Nacua, another monster game, Jay. Over 500 yards on the season, leading the league in receptions and yards. The million-dollar question that everybody wants to know is, when Cooper Kupp comes back, what does this look like offensively, Jay? Cooper Kupp should be the one. He should be the one. Like, Cooper Kupp is going to probably be the one, but I don't believe Puka Nacua is rendered irrelevant. Where are you at? At this point, you've got a guy.
It's the toughest question, right?
It is the million-dollar question, man.
I think he's going to be just fine, right? But I think the question remains is, can he be a top 24 option? And I think that comes down to the passing volume of Matthew Stafford, because the good thing for Puka Nacua is he's doing it without any touchdowns. Like, he scored this week, and I believe he scored last week as well. But we know that in the red zone, he's going to one guy, and that guy is Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp's going to score the touchdown. That's just what he does. But I think you can make the case that Puka Nacua can be a bit more of a downfield target for Matthew Stafford, and maybe Kupp working back can do a lot of these shorter, intermediate, third down stuff instead of going down the field and running all these deeper routes. So I think that Nacua can still thrive in the offense. I think, like you said, the question is, what does he receive in terms of workload? I think it would render Tyler Higbee virtually irrelevant. Tutu Atwell will probably still see downfield targets, but I mean, Higbee had 11 targets in this game. That's not happening in a game that Cooper Kupp is playing.
Yeah, I was talking to some of my boys, Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez from the Draft Network last night, and I was like, Puka's the real deal, isn't it? And they were like, yeah, man, the way that he's used, the way that they're using him, the way that he wins, the respect that defenses are putting on him, and he's still thriving despite that. I think he's sometimes, Jay, the right player lands in the right offense at the right time. And when all those things align and converge, it yields the opportunity. And once the opportunity comes, if the player seizes that opportunity, it'd be one thing if they were feeding him all of this work and then he wasn't converting, but they're feeding it to him and he's producing week in and week out despite the defense is keying on him. He's good, man. Like, I think I don't want to elevate him into some crazy elite tier yet, but this is about as an encouraging of a start that you could ever ask for, especially from a player who did not have the draft capital. Kyren Williams operating as the bell cow. Enjoy it for as long as you can. But I'm seeing people decline first in tear downs. Like, I would have no problem. And it's not because I don't think Kyren Williams is an effective running back. I actually took a lot of shit for liking Kyren Williams coming out of the NFL draft during the 2022 process. It's just the fact that he plays running back. And there is no capital invested in him. So the moment he gets hurt, it's going to be next man up. But like what we're seeing out of Kyren Williams right now. Jay, we got 2 more games to touch on. The Los Angeles Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Las Vegas Raiders played a game yesterday, and it was a pretty exciting game, despite the fact that we had a rookie quarterback in Aiden O'Connell suiting up for the Raiders as Jimmy Garoppolo dealt with a concussion. Aiden O'Connell, Khalil Mack had a damn near historic game.
6 sacks.
Yeah, 6 sacks, was going for a record. Devontae Adams, he was outspoken all week. Got you 75. Should have had a touchdown. Josh McDaniels did not challenge the play, which ended up leading to a Josh Jacobs 1-yard touchdown run in that game. The other side of the ball, Justin Herbert did not play particularly well, Jay. Only 167 yards, but made big throws when it counted, including none bigger than the one to Josh Palmer. I had Keenan Allen as wide receiver 2 on the week. Couldn't get anything going for Keenan Allen. He did score the touchdown. QJ did nothing. Josh Kelly got loaded back up with touches this week. What were the big takeaways from this game? Jacoby Myers had a 50-yard reception called back, offensive PI call. What's the big takeaway from this game?
I think the biggest takeaway for me really is Josh Jacobs, right? I want to talk about Aiden O'Connell a little bit because I thought he was good, but obviously the 6 sacks is rough.
Yeah, he's a rookie.
But when you're playing against a team like the Chargers who have 2 great edge rushers, bad things are going to happen when you hold the ball too long, and rookies are going to tend to do that. But he did make a bunch of big throws, and I thought, you talk about preseason, right? Kenny Pickett, god-awful, right? You talk about some other quarterbacks that are terrible, but one of the guys who actually was good in preseason and looked okay, especially down the stretch, was Aiden O'Connell. But Josh Jacobs is really the guy that I think is the most concerning because with Jimmy Garoppolo in the lineup, he's not going to catch 8 passes and see 11 targets. That was simply the product of Aiden O'Connell being smart and getting the ball down to his running back. And so is that going to continue going forward? Maybe, but that hasn't happened so far with Jimmy. And I think you look at the rushing production, 3.4 per carry, and it's easy to key on because they do have the rookie quarterback. But for me, it really is Josh Jacobs and how he hasn't been able to find success on the ground so far to start the year. You talk about the down game from the Chargers. These things happen. We've seen Kellen Moore throw duds out there in Dallas plenty of times. It happens all the time. I think they're going to be okay. Josh Palmer did have some pretty key drops as well that stalled some drives, but Herbert needs to be a little bit better. But he also made some pretty big plays on the ground with his legs that we haven't seen from him in the past. So I think it was just a really tough, gutty performance from Herbert. He obviously broke his finger in the middle of the game. That's not going to help either. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is Josh Jacobs. How do you feel about him going forward, and how do you feel about the Chargers?
I feel good about the usage for Jacobs. I feel, Aiden O'Connell, rookie quarterback, he had eyes for 2 guys. He had eyes for Devontae Adams, which he should have, and he got eyes to his outlet target, Josh Jacobs, with 11 targets. He's going to get the volume. I don't believe the Raiders are going to bring him back next year, so just use Josh Jacobs. I will enjoy the production. I know it wasn't very efficient, at least on the ground, but he did get the touchdown. Should have had another one. I believe it was vultured by somebody else. Somebody else had one of the touchdowns in that game. It was vultured by, I think it was Aiden O'Connell on a sneak.
Yeah, it was a sneak.
Yeah, but I feel good about Josh Jacobs. I know you said you're a little concerned that when Garoppolo's back, he doesn't check down. Jimmy G needs to get the damn ball out of his hands. So I think Jacobs would be one I'm kind of mildly interested in. He's running well. He's running hard. It's just his team is not very good. And they're 1-3 now. Adams is already disgruntled. We'll see what happens. On the other side of the ball, can we just get Austin Eckler back, please? Can we just get Austin Eckler back, please? All right, Jay, we had
after next week.
We had a couple of more games. Let's go to Dallas versus the New England Patriots. What an awful game.
We are who we thought they were.
My Dallas Cowboys put foot in ass. Mac Jones benched again for Bailey Zappi. Another benching for Mac Jones, who was awful in this game. Threw 2 pick sixes in the game, or 1 pick six, 1 pick six, and another interception. They can't run the ball. Ramondre's not doing anything. This offense is just awful. Their receivers, the only one, and we talked about Pop Douglas on the last, he's the only one with some juice on this team. Just throw him the damn ball. To be fair to Mac Jones, Mike Gesicki dropped a touchdown pass at the beginning of the game. His team is just... Again, talking to some of my people last night, is the game just passed Bill Belichick by. It's just an antiquated, outdated, slow offense. And how on earth can you go into a season with Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, one-knee Juju Smith-Schuster, Mike Gesicki, and think that, this is going to get it done in this division? It is just, it's putrid, man. It's a bad offensive attack. Ramondre looks like a shell of himself. There's no running lanes to be found. Bailey Zappi didn't look any better. It's just bad, Jay. On the other side of the ball, another game where offensively, this is the problem with Dallas from a fantasy perspective, is the defense is so good when they have those turnovers and they're scoring points and the defense is getting the ball short side of the field. It leaves one of these kind of fantasy days where Tony Pollard did nothing. Jake Ferguson was the man. CeeDee Lamb saved his day with a touchdown. But other than that, there was literally nothing else to talk about, and the team put up 38 points. That is the problem with Dallas. The defense is very good, and they will score. And the special teams unit, some say Kevontae Turpin, the best return man in the league. When Dallas defense gets a matchup like this, where you know turnovers are coming, probably some defensive touchdowns, it just limits the upside of the offense. So while Dallas smashed from a fantasy perspective, Tony Pollard was a bust on the week, and it has nothing to do with Tony Pollard. CeeDee Lamb saved the day. Brandon Cooks has been irrelevant this season. Jake Ferguson, I would take him over a lot of tight ends that people paid a lot of money for. And Luke Schoonmaker was targeted, and he dropped a touchdown pass. So they're still trying to get their rookie tight end involved in the offense. Cardinals and the 49ers, Jay, even though the box score is 35-16, it was a good game. And shout out to Joshua Dobbs, man. Josh Dobbs, Jay, I am a big supporter of brands and people. Like, as an independent content creator, I understand how difficult it is to sort of to carve your own way. So right now I'm rocking a shirt. My man Fomer Simpson and Uncivilized. I got the Kobe Bryant shirt on. I went out and I purchased some Josh Dobbs gear. He's got like these Astro hats. Really cool stuff. I went out. I'll wear them whenever they come in, but I purchased some Josh Dobbs gear, supporting his brand. I think he's been an awesome quarterback so far, really showing that maybe he can be a quality backup in this league, a bridge-type quarterback. He's not the problem for the Arizona Cardinals. And honestly, this team has shown me a lot. I know that they're 1-3. They're not going to win their division, but I am encouraged by what Arizona's putting on the field. And when I'm watching Josh Dobbs, Jay, go have an 80 QBR, throw for 265, run for 48 yards. You know what I think about, man? All I can think about is, man, Kyler Murray would be smashing in this offense. Like, goodness, I wish Kyler Murray was there. Hollywood Brown, Jay, I've been talking about him on the Trinity Report for 3 weeks now. He's good. Go buy Hollywood Brown. I know Michael Wilson, who I also like a lot, got the 2 touchdowns, but Hollywood Brown is going to be able to eat in this offense. This is quietly becoming one of these pieces of offenses that I want Hollywood. I want Michael Wilson. I want Zach Ertz. I want James Conner. I want Josh Dobbs, because they are going to be down, and they are allowing Josh Dobbs to throw the ball. I like what I'm seeing out of Arizona. On the other side of the ball, Jay, CMC. Jay.
One for each touchdown, Ray. My goodness.
Jay, I mean,
remember when I took all that heat for saying the best running back of all time?
He's so good. He's so good, Jay.
He's so good.
There's nothing really to say. 3 touchdowns on the ground, 1 through the air, 70 yards through the air, 100 yards on the ground. Ayuk 148. And Jay, Brock Purdy. I keep saying it again. Jay, I know people don't want to buy in, but how many I don't give a damn about system, none of that. All the quarterbacks are system quarterbacks in the NFL. Why are we not higher on Brock Purdy in Dynasty? How could you not be higher on him in Dynasty right now? How could you not? This is what he does. It's just an efficient, it's luck. I don't think he's that good. How are you not in on Brock Purdy at this point, Jay? He's awesome. He's unlocking Ayuk. Christian McCaffrey's throwing. Debo didn't even do it. He was the decoy this game. I don't think he had a catch this game. And they're just out here rolling people, and they don't let their foot off the gas. They keep going. They keep trying to score. How are we not higher on Brock Purdy in Dynasty, Jay?
I think it's just because it's the same bias, right? You can make the same case for Puka Nacua, and it's literally, he was such a low draft pick. He takes so long for people to really buy into the quarterback. But as you mentioned, Brock Purdy, 20 for 21. Basically a flawless performance from Brock Purdy.
Flawless.
283 yards in a game. They didn't really even need to throw the ball. They just did, because Josh Dobbs played phenomenal in this game. But Christian McCaffrey is just, he should be the MVP. Like, I don't know how there's not an MVP who is not Christian McCaffrey right now. Like, dude, he's just on another level.
I saw a stat, Jay. It was like he's been with the Niners. It was either 18 games or 20 games. And then whichever one it wasn't, the opposite, that's how many touchdowns he's had. Since maybe it's like 20 touchdowns in 18 games. They've only lost 1 time since traded.
He scored a touchdown in like 14 straight games or something since he's been on the Niners.
I mean, it's insane what he's doing right now. And it's efficient. He's not taking – he's just playing on it. Is he the dynasty RB1? Is CMC the RB1?
100%. At 27 years old, Christian McCaffrey is the RB1. This is literally like, again, we talked about Devon A-Chain in Miami system and why we wanted to see it. This is the same thing with an even better running back, a guy who is toting the rock. Next closest, Ray, he's got 20 of 23 running back carries in this game. Why is Christian McCaffrey getting 20 of 23 running back carries? He's literally one of the best players in football. He caught 7 passes. Like, he does everything for this team, everything they need him to do and more. I don't get how people can't just value this guy as the top player in fantasy, period. I mean, he overtook David Montgomery as the RB1 in the first half. That's how good he was.
Jesus.
That's how good he is. Like, it literally only took him a half to overdo David Montgomery, and he was the easy RB1. So it's like, I get
how many
Bijan,
points did he score? How many points did he score this week?
I think he dropped 50.
It's funny because the only reason I said
really
that, Scott Connor had asked us in our chat, when's the next time we see a 50-point game from a player? And we were all like, oh, probably another 3 years, 4 years. Shit, it might have been 7 days. We saw a 50-pointer, and then did he have 50 this week? 7,
I think he was 48.7.
Ah, little low. Yeah, 45,
but I mean,
48. Yeah,
he could have easily got there.
Yeah,
easily got there.
Yeah, this was actually an entertaining game, and I want to give credit to the Arizona Cardinals. They're playing very good. We talked about them being a worst team in football. Their O-line did a real Their O-line only gave up 1 sack to this defense. Like, if
getting Paris Johnson right was big.
I know we keep talking about Caleb Williams to Arizona. Bring Kyler back.
Ain't no way.
Draft Joe Alt. Draft Olu Fashanu at O-tackle and bring in Marvin Harrison. You give Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison with Marquise Brown, Michael Wilson, the 2 tight ends, James Conner, another offensive lineman. Watch out for Arizona, Jay. All right, the final game, Jay, and I thought we wouldn't even mention this one today. It would be awful. Shit, we had a ball game on Sunday Night Football. Zach Wilson, Jay.
God damn.
Is it fair to say? Is it fair to say Zach Wilson outplayed Patrick Mahomes on primetime Sunday Night Football? Did Zach Wilson outplay Patty Mahomes? And are you drafting him ahead of Mahomes in Dynasty?
I am not drafting him ahead of Mahomes, but I think you could pretty easily make the case that he outplayed him. Mahomes had some egregious errors. Would have been a 3-interception game if it wasn't for
Mahomes was tripping. He was out there. He was out there tripping. He was tripping last night. He was tripping.
But I think what's hilarious about Mahomes, right, is this the shit that he does every game, but he gets away with it. And it's the shit that Zach Wilson tries and doesn't. And this time was like Freaky Friday, right? The roles are reversed, and Zach Wilson's throwing up YOLO balls, and Allen Lazard is pushing guys out of the way and catching them, and Patrick Mahomes is just throwing picks here, there, that, over there. You're like, Mahomes, what are you doing? Like, you're the best quarterback in football? Like, there's no way. But, you know, when the plays need to be made, breaks down, this guy runs 25 yards up the middle, then he scrambles to the left in man coverage, ices the game over. But, wow, bad performance from Mahomes, great performance from Zach Wilson. Hopefully he can build on it because maybe the Jets can get something going here. Maybe they can get something going.
Isaiah Pacheco had a game last night. He was the best player on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs last night, running the ball, catching the ball. Physical running back. He is the presence. He is the tone setter for that team.
I hate watching him run. He runs like a weirdo.
He runs like a Madden, like when you're doing the training camp. He runs
like he's running so fast, but he's going nowhere. Like his feet just move so quick.
But the thing is, he is moving fast. Even on that touchdown run, I was like, if he gets caught, but he runs a 40.
But he looks like he's going to get caught every time. It's so funny.
He runs hard.
His running style is
he's so
odd,
fun to watch.
But he was great.
He was great last night. I want to talk a little bit about Garrett Wilson because, Jay, in 2015, DeAndre Hopkins, Jay, I'm going to just pull this up. I'm not going to pull. He played with 4 different quarterbacks. It was like TJ Yates, Tom Savage. There were 4 QBs that threw DeAndre Hopkins balls in 2015. And he got targeted 192 times, caught 111, just volumed his way to being an all-pro. Garrett Wilson, I'm here for Zach Wilson, just inefficient targets to Garrett Wilson. 14 targets for Garrett Wilson. I know we talked about him being, it's going to be inefficient. If he's going to be littered with 14 targets a week, like give me, Osweiler. I would say, do you want the list? Give me the list.
There's 5 quarterbacks who threw passes. Do you want to try and guess who they are?
Yates was one.
Yep, Yates is one. He
Osweiler.
Second. Osweiler is not a quarterback.
Okay, it's not. Okay, then I don't know the other 4. Who are they?
Think of a 28-year-old first-round pick from Oklahoma State.
Oh, Brandon Weeden. Brandon Weeden was one of them.
Brandon Weeden, backup quarterback on the Raiders, who is obviously not the rookie.
Brian Hoyer.
And Ryan Mallett was the other one. I don't even know where I'd go with Ryan Mallett because he's just been out of the league so long.
Hey.
But yeah, so Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, TJ Yates, Brandon Weeden, and some guy named BJ Daniels, who was apparently a quarterback.
BJ Daniels. Yeah, he went to I think he was at Georgia Tech. He was a triple option guy. I think he was at Georgia Tech or at Navy. It was something with a gold helmet. But point is, South Florida. I said gold helmet. Did I know it was
USF?
Gold helmet. Yeah, USF gold helmet. Yeah, Jay. Brees Hall.
Insane.
Brees Hall.
Good. Brees Hall was really good.
I got screwed last night on a prop bet, man. Jordan Whitehead had 5 tackles, and then they pulled one 20 minutes after the game was over, and they dropped him down to 4 tackles. But long story short, the Jets played very well versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Was this encouraging as a Jets fan? Here's the thing, man. It's Zach Wilson, so it's only a matter of time before he turns back into Zach Wilson. Tonight, what do we have? Who's the Monday night game? Who do we have tonight?
Seahawks and Giants, Ray. Marquee matchup. I think it's in New York, too. Yeah, it is in New York. Yeah, how you feeling? We got another Jets-Giants doubleheader. Sunday Night Football to Monday Night Football. Gotta love it. Man, Ray, do we see anything from JSN in this one?
Probably not. I think it's going to be a lot of Kenneth Walker.
Yes,
a lot of DK Metcalf, a lot of Tyler Lockett. Jay, we did the rookie mock at the beginning. Right now, I saw Nate List put out a dynasty poll. I'm asking y'all, this is what we're going to go out on. I'm asking y'all. Yeah. Hey, my man Mitch is in the building, DFS and Donuts. Come check out the product, man. The Dub Club product. Link is in the description. If you're into sports betting, there's no better community than DFS and Donuts. I'm telling you right now, he's got a million different promo codes to try it out, get in at a discounted rate. He hit a 25Xer last night. This dude is phenomenal. We do breakfast and bets Wednesdays and Sundays. We may be doing some more of those, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Tap in. He hit a nice play last night, Jay. But Dynasty right now, Puka Nacua or JSN?
I don't see how it's not Puka Nacua. I really don't. Even if JSN is good, he still may not be as good as Puka Nacua because for as long as Matthew Stafford is there, I think Puka Nacua is going to be pretty good. Right? Even if Cooper Kupp is back, Cooper Kupp's still 31 years old, right? And Puka's doing stuff that we've never seen before. How about JSN? First wide receiver taken. He's been by far the worst. He's been even worse than QJ.
Man, I don't even want to answer the question, Jay. Destination Dynasty is out on the DD radio feed. JRich, we got some good articles popping off this week. I'm going to have a 24 rookie mock that we post on DestinationDevy.com this week. JB's doing stuff. Gump and Derek doing the college football stuff. JRich, you got straight to the bank. We got a lot of content coming this week. Rookie Report, Trinity Report, Breakfast and Bets, all kinds of podcasts, newsletter from Brandon. I think he's doing the Monday Night Primer tonight, so make sure you tapped in. Anything you want to say? The primer's out. JRich got that up. Anything you want to say to people before we get out of here?
Go Bears, baby. Go Bears. Only 2 teams with the first and second overall pick. 0-4 for the Carolina Panthers and the Bears. But, Ray, I did want to correct you briefly. You talk about the Arizona Cardinals getting Marvin Harrison Jr. No shot if they have the 9th overall pick and the 13th overall pick, who Houston currently has.
Excuse me.
Houston at 2-2 now.
Give me
has
the top
13th overall pick. You have the Bears twice, the Raiders, the Broncos, then the Vikings. The Jets are also 1-3. The Patriots are 1-3. The Bengals are 1-3. The Cardinals are 1-3, and then the Giants are 1-2.
Where do we want from those 4 teams that we just talked about? Who would you want to see Caleb Williams drafted to? Like, what team makes the most fantasy? Man.
The best team is Minnesota. Like, I want him to play in Minnesota, like, badly, because he already has Jordan Addison, right, who he played with last season.
Hawkinson.
We got Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson. Like, it's by far the best offense. Like, we're not going to say Cincinnati because obviously he's not going to Cincinnati.
No.
Don't want him in Denver. Don't want him in Vegas. Don't want him in Carolina.
Absolutely not.
Do not want him in Chicago, right? We don't want him in Chicago. No way. Would you want him on the Jets?
Absolutely.
I don't think he's going to be on the Jets. Okay.
I would love that. You said another team. Minnesota would be dope.
So Chicago, Vegas, Denver, Minnesota, the Jets,
not with Josh McDaniels. I don't want him in Vegas, but absent McDaniels, I think that'd be a dope spot for Caleb Williams. Las Vegas, Caleb Williams. It's close to California.
You got Adams, but how long is he there?
Probably
they got Myers, right? Like it's a sticky. It could be a tough situation for him. Like Jacobs is probably on the way out. It'd be a bare offensive weaponry for him going in there. Minnesota's the clear favorite.
Ooh, Joe, you on the Puka train? Joe said got to be a sucker to sell Puka Nacua. Hey, we had some super chats, Jay. Hold on. Rico, 10-team, 1 QB, tight end premium, start 10. Trade CD for Puka, Flowers, and a late first. Is that enough to trade down? Yes. I mean,
in a
CD,
10-team,
I would do it. I would just do it because I think Puka and CD Lamb for this season are probably comparable of what they're going to score. They're probably right there. So if I can get Puka in a first and Flowers, like I would do it. I'm fine with that, Rico. And then Vaughn, shout out to Vaughn Hodges, man. Vaughn does a lot of stuff in the betting community too. On win now teams, what are you doing with Garrett Wilson and Dynasty Breece Hall? Because we know what they're capable of, but they aren't gonna. Yeah. So basically, love the show. Keep it up. Thank you, Vaughn. We kind of touched on this. I get the. Here's why you can sell Garrett Wilson, because he did have 14 targets. Garrett Wilson was fed. Listen, hear me out. This is why you can sell him. There's a lot of enthusiasm right now about Garrett Wilson and what he could do. But I guarantee you, as sure as the sun rises in the morning, Jay, there will be multiple stinkers from Zach Wilson where Garrett Wilson does nothing and the community goes right back to dropping him down to wide receiver 30, whatever he is. And at that point, you can buy back in on Garrett Wilson. I want him long term. Breece Hall is another story, Jay. It's not that I'm out, but we're going to year 2 of Breece Hall seems like it's going to be a wash for the most part.
Yeah,
so now we're talking about investing in a running back going into year 3, and that just has not been a very optimal way to build your rosters. Betting on year 3, year 4 running backs. Vaughn, the real answer to that question is it depends on what I'm getting in return for Breece Hall. Like it really does depend on what I'm getting in return for Breece Hall.
Would you re-roll him?
Yeah, I'd re-roll him.
As a first? You take it first? In the draft class, you're not so sold on. Looking like a 2020 draft class.
We got another super chat. Mitch says, Puka currently tied for second at plus 350 odds for most receiving yards this season.
No way.
You don't
Jefferson
think
already has more yards than him, and Kupp's coming back. There's no way.
Yeah. Probably not.
And there's still Tyreek Hill, who's probably a
rookie of the year odds. I think CJ Stroud's leading the way, but
still should be Stroud.
It's CJ Stroud quarterback award.
I'll have to see, but yeah, I would take Stroud.
Okay, we're almost at 2. We're almost at 2. This is the longest show we've ever done outside of a draft stream. Okay, we're Jimbo wants us. Hey, stop doing that! I can't hear. Jimbo wants us to go for 10 more minutes. I'm not saying anything else. We're getting out of here. Thank y'all for being in on a monster show. Hit the like button on your way out of the building. Stay tapped in for all the content we have on the channel. And we'll see y'all on Wednesday for breakfast and bets. But JRich and I will be back on Friday. Let's get out of here before another super chat gets in. I love y'all. We out. Peace.